catches, puts up a three. Won't go. Rebound box. Back out to Allen. His three-pointer. Bang! Tie game with 5 seconds remaining.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Triple Double Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Eddie Fitzgerald. With me today, KEMBA.
Hello.
And Hunter Nisley.
Great day to be back, everybody. I'm excited to get the Triple Double Podcast going. Second one of the new year.
Yes, it is going to be awesome talking basketball with these guys. As always, be sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Hit us with that subscribe, hit us with some likes. Share it with your friends. Be sure that you never miss an episode and you never, ever go without the Triple Double Podcast. All right. With that being said, guys, it's a new year, and we have a new segment for you. We're calling it The Good, The Bad, and The Ugly. All of us are going to go around. We're going to find one good thing that has happened since our most recent podcast. We're going to talk about it for a little bit. We're going to talk about one bad thing, each of us, and we're going to see what's bad. And then we're going to talk about one ugly thing that we find absolutely atrocious, and that is what we're going to cover next. So, we're going to hop right into the good, the bad, the ugly, starting now. So, my first good thing, the San Antonio Spurs, right? They're a good basketball team, you know what I mean? But to do so without Kawhi, and to do so with Kawhi being injured in the way that he is and the drama that's filled, and to do so with DeJounte Murray as your starting point guard, is kind of miraculous. I'm not going to lie. You know Popovich is a good coach, and you know he's going to win those games for you. But I think San Antonio is sitting at like the 4th seed right now.
4th seed, 30 and 18 in the West.
I mean, in the Western Conference, it is absolutely...
They're actually tied for 3rd with Minnesota.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing to me that San Antonio... granted, they just lost to Indiana last night. But they play Cleveland tomorrow. So that should be an interesting game to watch. They are sitting... They're sitting very pretty right now. Especially, they're second defensively in the league, right? And that's impressive.
Which is nuts for their personnel currently, which
right.
is really good.
So that says a lot about Greg Popovich and kind of the system against athleticism. And then offensively, and the fact that they're 30 and 18, they're the 21st team offensively right now, and in terms of offensive rating. And that is incredible to me, that you can be so dominant defensively and so weak offensively that against Western Conference teams that are putting up close to 120, 130 points a night, right?
Right.
That's very impressive. And so and to do it all without your best defensive player as well. Kawhi, arguably one of the best defenders in the league. And that, to me, is something that's a great storyline in the NBA. That's a good storyline. So that's my good. Cam, what's your good storyline in the NBA?
My good storyline right now is the Houston Rockets, and especially the Houston Rockets with Chris Paul, James Harden, and Clint Capella all on the floor. They are 15-0 when they are all on the court together. They are 15-12 when they are not together. So Harden's been out recently. He's just coming back from injury. He looks good. He doesn't look exactly what he was like before the injury, but I think that's just taking some time. I think they're going to make a real run at the Warriors for the 1 seed. They looked really good. They ended up beating the Warriors a couple days ago by 8 points or so, but the game kind of felt like it was more of a blowout than 8 points the way the Rockets were playing. So that's my good currently, is how the Houston Rockets have been playing with those 3 on the court.
All right, I like it, Cam. 15-0 for Houston, too. Do you think they're a real threat to Golden State?
I do, especially if they get DeAndre. Then I think we're talking serious competition between these two in the conference finals.
Yeah, they did just beat Golden State the other night as well.
I don't know how I like DeAndre.
The other thing is they already have Clint. That's why
Clint Capella is a more athletic, in my opinion, just a better a discount DeAndre
If you
Jordan.
see these stats, I'd put Clint Capella as a starter over DeAndre,
Yeah.
which would never work out for them. But even without DeAndre, I think the Rockets could definitely get 2, as long as they're all healthy, 2, maybe 3 games in the finals.
Oh, I agree. All right,
Hunter.
what's your good storyline?
All right, my good that I have this year, his name is Spencer Dinwiddie. So he's the currently the starting point guard for the Brooklyn Nets.
Russell's back.
Oh, he did just come back. So Spencer Dinwiddie, he's been in the league now for 4 years. This is his 4th year. He's been back and forth between the D League his first 2 years. He kind of found a little niche last year as the backup for Brooklyn. And with Jeremy Lin and D'Angelo Russell both going down early this season for Brooklyn, he had to take on that starting point guard role. And he's actually averaging 13.5 points right now, 6.5 assists. And he's shooting 48.5% from the field. As who was a D-League point guard and a backup point guard the last 2 years, he's really come out of his shell. He has a really good chance this year to win comeback player or most improved player of the year. And obviously Brooklyn's not great this year, but when Spencer Dinwiddie's arguably your best player, it's kind of hard to be competitive. But he's had a really nice season for the Nets.
Yeah, that's very impressive, and I think that there's certainly something to be said for Dinwiddie as
Most improved player of the year.
and I think that'd be nice for him. That'd be good,
Especially for Brooklyn. Somebody
they need something.
they need something good to happen
Just
to their
something to cheer
franchise
about,
now.
Yeah. Like honestly, they're getting past that infamous Billy King trade, and I think that's it's
We
really
almost
good.
feel bad for them at this point.
Yeah. So
Now we're going to jump in to the bad side. And I'm going to say that Tyronn Lue has been awful for the Cleveland Cavaliers. I think that when you take a look at their personnel, and granted, they're old guys. Old guys aren't necessarily known for their defense. And these old guys, when they were young guys, aren't necessarily known for their defense. But to allow that type of coaching, to allow this atmosphere in the locker room, strictly falls at the hands of Tyronn Lue. For somebody who's been able to, like, quote unquote, corral LeBron James, you know what I mean? Like, kind of get the respect of LeBron James. Like, to me, just nobody will ever really have the respect of LeBron James, in my opinion, as a coach, because he just does what he wants.
He's never had a great coach.
He's never had a great
No
coach.
offense to Spoelstra.
Oh,
but-
I mean, definitely. Spoelstra's probably his best coach.
Spoelstra's
Yeah,
probably
but
hands down
still,
his best coach.
like, yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And so
he didn't respect Spoelstra.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
And to go from being, a
Semi-formidable defensive team
to being
the second worst or the third worst team in the NBA defensively.
why? I don't understand. Like, they know what their issue is. Their most recent loss, which I'm sure that we'll get into at some point, about with the Oklahoma City Thunder dropping almost 150 points.
All-star, that's like all-star game levels of no defense.
You know what I mean? Like, it's ridiculous to me that when LeBron,
Because LeBron's the controller of that team, right? He's the heart. When he plays, that team does well.
but there are some games where, like, if he gets off, like, it's just over. It's completely over. Like, he needs to be 100% every time. And don't get me wrong, he probably will be
Come May, June,
playoff time.
I'm sure the Cavs will be more focused then, but right now it's a January thing. The last 4 or 5
Yeah.
years, the Cavs have they've been crap in January.
Yeah, but
they've been crap in January, but there
This is a new level.
I agree. I think that I would say that this is a different type of crap.
And you think it's a
this
coaching
isn't-
problem?
And
I think it stems from the top down. I'm gonna say that their GM is just not bringing in the right personnel, and that they're becoming too complacent and too reliant on LeBron James to make something happen. And then it comes down to Tyronn Lue, who's just like, yeah, guys, go out there. That's not what he's saying, but it's LeBron's team. He's not doing anything to help anything else. There's no real. When I look at this roster, aside from LeBron James, I don't see anybody who can play like a defense. I don't like. Amon Shumpert, maybe on a good day.
They're too old. They just need to get a look. I mean, their whole team. I think they have the oldest team in the entire
They
league.
probably do at this point.
I mean, even being the old. I mean, look at the Spurs. The Spurs have a old team. They're playing Tony Parker. They're playing Pau Gasol. LaMarcus Aldridge is not a very good defender. And they are. What'd you say? Third,
They're
second.
second. They're
second in the league
in defensive rating.
To me, it stems from the culture that the coach creates. And right now, I don't think Tyronn Lue has the greatest culture in the NBA. He is the best player in the NBA.
That's it.
Doesn't have the best culture.
And that's my bad. We'll switch it up. We'll go Hunter. Hunter, what's your bad take?
All right. So my bad is the Washington Wizards. So right now, the Washington Wizards are 26-20, so not a bad record, but they are the number 5 seed in the East. The problem I have with the Washington Wizards is they play down to their competition. It's almost like the Pittsburgh Steelers of the NBA. How the Steelers always playing close games against the worst teams in the league. Well, the Washington Wizards do the exact same. So the Wizards have, they've had some nice wins over good teams. They've beaten Portland, they've beaten Detroit, they've beaten the Cavs, they've beaten Boston, they've beaten a lot of the good teams in the NBA. But you know who they also have losses to? They have losses to the Lakers. They have losses to the Suns. They have losses to the Hawks. They have losses to the Bucks. They have lost to the Brooklyn Nets. They have lost to the Los Angeles Clippers. They have lost to so many bad teams this year. They're just at 500 when they play teams that are 500 or below, and they should be dominating these games. The majority of them.
They're admitting it too. Like they see it happening.
They're being cocky right now. Yeah.
They're like, these games are for stats, and like that needs to stop, but they're not stopping it.
No,
like,
they're not stopping it.
They're
And
seeing that this is happening.
If they keep playing this way, I think they have a good shot to get bounced in the first round. They're already at the 5 seed. They're trending about where they are right now, maybe slightly worse. Even if they put it into that next gear when playoff time comes. Right now they would play, if the season ended right now, they'd play Miami. And I think that would be a good 7-game series, and it's kind of a coin flip on I think who would win.
I think I 100% agree. Like when you take a look at the Washington Wizards and before big games, they're always talking. They are always talking. They did that. I think they did that against the Cavaliers, one time, and just this season. And LeBron James absolutely smacked them, and they lost by 20 points. It was ridiculous. John, I'm glad you brought that up. I think that's an excellent point coming from Washington.
And something else that really makes me mad about this Washington Wizards team, John Wall, who I picked as a dark horse candidate to win MVP this year, he's only averaging 19.5 points.
Oh, man.
That is 4 points less than last year. He's averaging 1.5 less
hurt.
assists.
They should be higher because he's played less games too.
He's averaging less rebounds. He is 71% from the free throw line, 10% worse than last season. Their heads aren't in the game.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Cam, what's your bad take?
Okay, my bad is all of the fights that had happened in the last week. This is kind of just blowing my mind. I think this is spin-tailing into something that could end up being bad. It could be lasting this whole season. So it started with this whole Clippers-Rockets thing, which is easily the funniest, craziest, best story of the year. It was so interesting. I woke up and saw all these Woj tweets about what was happening, and I honestly couldn't believe it. The whole back tunnel thing, it was so hilarious. And the fact that it was sparked by Austin Rivers, easily the most hated man in the NBA. Easily. And he wasn't even playing the game. He had a walking boot on and a suit, and he is the reason this all happened. Besides, if Blake and Chris, they never really liked each other. That came out when they played. That was one of the craziest things I've ever seen in the NBA. It was so fun to see. Then, on last Tuesday, Aaron Aflalo, a man many people don't realize is even still in the league, in my opinion, the most average player in the league, took a swing at Minnesota's, Nemanja
Bjelica.
But how is it?
Isn't it Nemanja Bjelica or something like that?
Yeah, sure, that. Bjelica. And
boy, he almost connected too.
it was almost really bad, and it would have been a big deal. This guy, I've never seen him as like a thug player. Like he went to UCLA and stuff, and he was like a first team at UCLA.
He's still on Orlando, isn't he?
Yes, he's in Orlando.
Maybe that's why, man. Like, are we gonna transition into?
Hold on, I got one more because our hometown boy Tim Frazier was part of a fight along with Jason Smith and Michael Carter Williams on Wednesday. Michael Carter Williams and Jason Smith started to go at it, then Tim Frazier got into it, and they were all ejected, and it was something crazy. These fights are just gotta stop.
It's gotten out of control, yes.
And as you were saying, Hunter, I'm gonna let you take it away.
So speaking of Aaron Aflalo is on, my opinion, the worst team in the NBA currently.
And this is his ugly, by the way.
This is my ugly. So the Orlando Magic, I predicted they were going to be the worst team in the East and probably the worst team in the league this season. And they surprised me. They started 8-4 this year. All right, 8-4. Do you guys know what they're at now? It's not good.
I'm gonna guess
not 8-4.
It's 14-32.
There we go.
So they have gone on a 6-28 run. 6-28.
I remember when they got Frank Vogel and everyone was like, "This team's gonna turn around."
I think
Indiana doesn't know what they're doing.
I think Orlando, I think it's overdue. They need to blow up. The only person I keep on that team right now is Aaron Gordon. I think he's the only.
I keep Evan Fournier.
Yeah, Fournier's good.
Maybe Fournier. Definitely, I think Aaron Gordon. And I think everybody else, you
Peyton,
trade,
Don,
you cut,
yeah.
You sign the D-League guys, and you just tank the rest of the season. You don't even have to tank the rest of the season. You're already going to get a top
for the
pick.
rest of the season.
They're already tanking, basically.
Yeah.
They've missed on some draft picks. Jonathan Isaac has looked really good on defense.
Mm-hmm.
Offense, he's looked up and down. That looks like that may be a nice pick for them.
I know,
But
Eddie,
they've
you
kind
really
of
liked Isaac.
they've kind of missed on Elfrid Payton. They've kind of missed on Nikola Vucevic. So it's just the Orlando Magic. They need to start over. They have a bad organization. I think Frank Vogel needs to go. I think all their players, except for a handful of them, need to go, and they just need to start over. It's bad.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Cam. What is your ugly?
So my ugly, you guys took most of my points earlier, but we'll let it go. The Cleveland Cavaliers are just ugly. And, it's so hard to say that because they're still number 3 in the East. They're still going to make the playoffs. They're still going to be the Cavaliers in the playoffs. But I cannot get over how ugly that Thunder Cavaliers game was. You could have put 5 Isaiah Thomases out there, and they would not have given up 150 points. Absolutely zero effort. It was one of the most disgusting displays of defense I've ever seen in my entire life. I get it. Russell Westbrook, Paul George, Carmelo, if they're all good, if they're all on the same night, they can do that. But come on. All of these guys are old. All of these guys cannot play defense. They want to get into a shootout with the Warriors, which they're never, ever going to win. And they are going absolutely in the wrong direction. This defense is appalling, and I cannot stand it. I cannot stand the defense in this league, and this is just the epitome of how bad defense has gotten in the National Basketball Association. As a Celtics fan, I have a little more respect for the art of defense than what is going on with this team.
I know Eddie was talking about how obviously LeBron's the best player on the team, best player in the league, but I mean he kind of built this mess. Do you think? Do you blame him 100%? I know we were blaming Ty Lue earlier, but do we also put a lot of blame on LeBron?
So I want to use the term nepotism here because he is just taking his friends and putting them on his team, and it's not working. He has gotten old players that are his friends that he thinks could play well together. If this was a pickup basketball game, they would be great. But this is the NBA. These guys do not gel together. Kyle Korver is a train wreck. Kevin Love, he's been having a good season, but I just never felt like
he can't play a lick of defense.
He can't play defense. They have Isaiah Thomas. They're like, once he gets back, it's all going to change. He cannot play defense. No one can play defense. LeBron cannot guard 5 people. LeBron hasn't even been playing that good of defense in LeBron terms. Oh, it's making me so angry.
It's hard to watch. It's really, really hard to watch.
But as to your answer to your question, yes, LeBron deserves some of the blame.
Definitely. I guess I have another question for you too. So I mean, the each year there's 82 games. Do you think they should shorten the season? Because I mean, playing 82 game schedules, it's pretty brutal. You just kind of, and we've heard LeBron, we've heard other stars say, like, you know, they're just kind of coasting through the regular season to get to the playoffs. We've seen it with the Washington Wizards that I went off on earlier. Do you think it should be shortened?
Because I would say make the season longer, but it's already so long. It starts in October and doesn't until June.
Yeah, they did.
You got to give
a good job. They extended. I think it was like they extended the regular season by a week, and they took out a lot of the back-to-backs for teams, which is good.
So
but still,
they're playing like every other day. The Celtics just recently had a lot of days off, but before that, they were like 6 games ahead of everyone in the NBA because they just kept throwing games at them.
Yeah, that London game. Yeah,
that's where they got the break from. And so I mean, I don't think it would hurt. I still think the teams that are going to make it are going to make it, even if you shorten the games. So I would be okay if they shorten the season.
Yeah, no, I certainly agree. And that transitions kind of into my ugly choice for the
thing, which kind of takes us into our first segment of today's podcast. Just a little over 35 minutes ago, we're recording this about 4 o'clock on a Monday afternoon, and the Bucks have decided to let go of Jason Kidd. It came in a form of a Woj bomb, stating that Joe Prunty, who was the assistant coach, is now going to be the interim coach, and he'll coach the Bucks against Phoenix tonight in their matchup. They also said that they moved on from Kidd based upon how poorly they were doing. They're about the 8th seed right now in the East. They have frayed relationships in the organization in general, like non-alignment. So it's clear to me that Jason Kidd was given control of this team, and he was not dependable. He was given control of the roster. He was given control of how he was meant to run the team. He was given control of the vision overall of the team, and the general manager kind of like, stepped aside. That's what happened. He started off in Brooklyn, right? Am I right?
I believe so.
Right. Yeah, was it Brooklyn? And they wanted control of the roster, and they traded him for like a future second-round pick or something like that. They traded Jason Kidd to the Bucks, something like that. Yeah. So because he wanted control, and now that he had control, it's clear that the Bucks are talented, and it's clear that the Bucks have athleticism, and it's clear that the Bucks have the pieces to go and take the next step, especially with MVP Giannis coming out of nowhere. I mean, we knew he was good, right? But like,
we didn't think he was going to take this jump this season.
Oh, we didn't. Nobody expected that. But also the lack of Giannis's improvement as a jump shooter, his lack of improvement in other aspects of his game, and just the overall complacency and mediocrity of this team, I think, is what led to this firing.
I would say that, the Bucks' job, certainly, Woj says it right here, it will be the most sought-after position by all head coaches.
Oh, yeah.
Like, any assistant coach is, like, calling Milwaukee right now and, like, trying to see what they can do about maybe getting an interview this offseason. But to say that, it'll be interesting to see how the Bucks do without Jason Kidd. Kidd's been also a bit of a firehead, like a hothead in certain games. If you remember, he spilled water intentionally on the court to get the timeout. So he's been it's that culture. Like I said, Popovich, Budenholzer, now Brett Brown, we're starting to see with a little bit more with the Sixers. They're creating this culture that players can just get behind. For Brad Stevens, an excellent example, is
Eric Spoelstra.
They create,
maybe Eric Spoelstra, but we'll nevertheless, these cultures.
What atmosphere?
Steve Kerr, right? Create the culture for their team. They give something for the players to play for. They want to go in. That's why Boogie Cousins was traded, right? You know what I mean? Like, there are obviously good coaches and there are obviously bad coaches in the league, right? But the best coaches are the ones that will create the culture for the players to get behind. It'll be interesting to see with the new head coach coming in and with this interim coach, who gains control of Giannis.
What I'm interested in is if they are not going to hire a new head coach, does this mean they're giving up on any run they had? Unless this assistant coach, I don't know anything about him, if he's very well equipped to lead this team. but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. I think Milwaukee's. I think David Fizdale is probably going to be right now like their top option. I don't see why David Fizdale wouldn't be the top option, but like you were talking about, Eddie, the culture in Milwaukee, it's just not a good culture. You know, this team should be one of the best defensive teams in the league. They can basically switch everything. They have all the size, all the length, and they are currently 17th in the league in points allowed, 106 points a game. They actually have a negative plus-minus on the season. They're average offensively. They are actually last in rebounds per game at 38.5 rebounds a game. They're the 8th seed in the East. They're underachieving. They have an MVP candidate, Giannis Antetokounmpo. They've had some injuries this season, but there's no reason that they should be the 8th seed in the East. There's absolutely no reason whatsoever.
Yeah, well, a thing I find interesting about this is Giannis. He's signed till 2021, but I just got a notification that said he is very upset with this firing of Jason Kidd, which means like one of two things. One, he did like Kidd and he liked how he coached and he liked his perspective on things and he thought he made him a better player. Or Jason Kidd didn't do anything, let him do whatever he wanted.
I think that's much more.
And I think that's definitely what it is. So I think he wants an atmosphere where he's a LeBron type. But he's not ready for that. Yeah. This man's 23 years old, getting $100 million guaranteed.
Oh man,
he's not ready for this. He's not ready for this atmosphere.
He's ready.
He thinks
he should be ready for a good culture that I think David Fizdale would bring.
I agree with that. David Fizdale.
I'm not sure what Giannis would bring.
So this Parenti guy's rap sheet is he started off in San Antonio in 2002, so he's a pop guy, right? And then he went from 2005 until 2008 with the Dallas Mavericks, and that was at the height of Dirk Nowitzki's career. So you're looking at like MVP Dirk 2006. Now, granted, they never won the finals until what, like 2012, 2013? 2011, right? He left in 2008.
Team. Me and Hunter talk about that all the time.
Great team.
So it was 2008 and 2010 with the Portland Trailblazers, and they didn't really do much then. They brought him on 2010 and 2013 to the Cleveland Cavaliers, and he was with Byron Scott, so not really the greatest. And then in 2013, 2014, he was with Jason Kidd in Brooklyn. And then from 2013 to 2017, he also helped coach the Great Britain national men's basketball team. So he coached the English team.
Guy's got some.
So he's got a nice rap sheet for him, and now he's the head coach. He's a two-time NBA champion, 2003 and 2005. With the San Antonio Spurs. So he's obviously been in the big games. He obviously knows what he's doing. He's been, he's been decent. So it'll be interesting to see. I think I kind of alluded to this earlier before we got into this whole other situation. I think it comes down to who can control Mr. Antetokounmpo. I think that they'll give Antetokounmpo a huge say in who becomes the next head coach.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Because you want to do that because you want to keep your star. You want to make your star player happy. But will Antetokounmpo want the coach that makes the culture that makes him better, or will he want another Jason Kidd? Will he want somebody who will just let him do whatever he wants?
Definitely be interesting.
And so if they do that again, and then the Milwaukee Bucks struggle again, and then they fire another coach, so then does it become Giannis's issue? Does it become not picking the best coach for the team, but picking the best coach for your star player? And that's what really becomes interesting.
I think if you get Fizdale, you get both.
That's certainly interesting.
You get a guy who will let Giannis be Giannis, but at the same time mentor him and teach him. Because he's still young. He's still 23. Right. He still has so much to learn.
So what do you guys think? Where do the Bucks finish at the end of the season?
I think they definitely make the playoffs. I think with a guy as good as Giannis, I think it's going to be hard for them to miss the playoffs. If anybody's going to bounce out between the Pacers, Sixers, and Bucks, I'd probably say the Pacers. Mm-hmm. I think the Sixers are going to maintain right about. I think they're going to finish probably around the 7 or 6 seed.
Mm-hmm. I remember when everyone was writing off the Pacers at the beginning of the season.
I didn't write off the Pacers. I said they had a good shot at making the playoffs, but even the Wizards, I think, have a chance to even go down farther in the East too.
For me, I see Milwaukee as a very scary 8 seed. I think they stay in the 8 position. And now we're having another Boston, Chicago matchup.
Honestly, I'd be scared if Philly or Milwaukee gets that 8 seed. If you're Boston, I'd rather play Milwaukee than Philly.
I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I play Philly.
Really?
We've had
I'd
Philly's
rather
number
play
all year.
Philly. Philly is like
They beat us last week, but they won by 8 points, and we didn't have Kyrie. So I take Philly.
I don't know, man. Joel Embiid versus
We
Kyrie Irving. That'd be a fun first round matchup.
We've had a little on and off with the Bucks and the Sixers this year. We've lost some, we've won some, so it's going to be interesting.
It'll be interesting. Certainly. And so, I think they'll probably finish up with. I think they'll finish up above 500. I think that. I don't see a team like. The Pistons are the next best team, and unless they make a trade, I don't see them passing the Bucks in terms of talent.
Detroit's also lost 5 in a row. Too.
I don't see them passing the Sixers in terms of talent. The Pacers might drop down, but Oladipo's the GOAT, obviously.
Maybe Washington.
But I don't see the Pistons jumping anybody. I don't see them unless they go on some insane Stan Van Gundy run. I don't know.
Hold on a second.
All right, hold up, Cam.
There's a
What's
tweet
up, Cam?
that I found pretty funny about the Pacers.
The Pacers.
The Pistons.
The Pistons, yeah.
Because all this trade stuff's coming out. It was by Bill Simmons. Of course, I can't find it. But it was. Oh, here it is.
Come on, Cam.
Bill Simmons tweeted, "How many different times do you think Stan Van Gundy will offer Reggie Jackson, Stanley Johnson, and a first rounder for KEMBA and the Marvin Williams contract this weekend? Over under 50, and I'm going over."
Well,
honestly,
that actually
It's an excellent point, Cam, because right now we're going to shift our topic over to these decent-looking trade rumors going on right now in the NBA. And who but Kemba Walker is at the helm.
He's the
I think I might have said it on a previous podcast, but I thought I said that the Charlotte Hornets might want to look to move Kemba Walker, and he's on a great deal. I think he's making $12 million, and he's making $14
million this year, next year.
This year and next year, and basically what they want to do is they want to clean house. So they want to get rid of the Marvin Williams contract, or they want to get rid of the Nick Batum contract. They want to get rid of something nasty off their team and bring in something valuable to replace Kemba Walker. And I think that I don't know if there's a possible trade out there. I mean, it kind of works if you move him into Cleveland. Maybe it kind of works if you put him on. I think it would work really well if you put him on Boston.
Really?
Imagine this, okay? Right? They have the cap space to do it.
They have 2 years of Kemba. So now you're looking at a front court or a back court of Kyrie Irving, Kemba Walker, two guys who can penetrate
Kemba Walker
and pass.
to play the two though.
You could. It doesn't matter. You can run 2 point guards. You can run a 2 point guard system.
That's true. If anyone's gonna do it, it's gonna be Brad Stevens. Too.
Stevens plays. You could do it because you could even put Kyrie at the 2. He's done it before with LeBron James.
I like Kyrie. He's great handles. He has great ball. I like him.
You'd put him in the game.
Stevens plays positionless basketball.
So then you take a look at some of their other guys on their roster, right? You're looking at Gordon Hayward coming back next year. Then you're looking at either Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown starting, and Al Horford.
Well, no, because if they're going to trade, their Hornets are going to ask for Brown or Tatum.
All right, obviously,
and I don't want to.
You could give it. You could get like. So that would be what would happen. They would probably give up Brown or Tatum or one of their picks.
They've got the picks. They've got Smart. They've got Rozier. I don't want to give up Rozier, but they'd probably want Rozier.
You could probably give up Marcus Smart because Marcus Smart, he's an expiring contract this year. You convince him to stay. You can pay him more money, so he will stay with the organization. And now you'll probably have to end up taking the Marvin Williams contract. Yeah. But Marvin Williams is a good role player. Granted, he's making a little bit more than he should.
We need a role. We need a bigger role.
You have a nice role player, an offensive-minded 4 who can play that positionless basketball. And I think that if you put him on Boston, now that would be an interesting team. That would be a scary 5 to go up against.
Yeah, you're right.
You're looking at Kyrie Irving. I don't know if there would be a better guard combo in the league than Kyrie
and Kemba. That'd be nasty. That'd be so hard.
You're right. Kyrie and Kemba would be deadly. Then you have. I don't think you can put Brown at the 4 or Tatum So you're sitting at Marcus Morris, still sitting there at the 4, Horford at the 5, then there's a 3.
You could put Horford at the 4. Or not Horford at the 4. You could put Hayward at the 4. I think
Hayward's hurt. Okay.
I'm talking about next year.
Yeah,
I'm talking
okay,
about next year.
next year
Because you have him for 2 years, right? You have 2 years on a really good deal.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And then
I can't see people I want to give up.
I don't think Danny Ainge pulls the trigger unless it's a top 10
Of
player.
course he doesn't. Danny Ainge doesn't pull the trigger.
You already know Kemba's not going to Boston because Danny Ainge isn't going to pull the trigger.
No.
But it's just interesting to fantasize about.
Another team that I've been fantasizing about with Kemba Walker, and I've already mentioned them once. San Antonio. Right?
Okay, I could definitely
right?
could use them. They could
right?
use them.
Okay, so now picture this. Whenever Kawhi comes back, you have Kemba, Kawhi, LaMarcus Aldridge. Right? That's a big 3 with Greg Popovich at the helm.
That'd be interesting. That would help out their
offense. That's an offensive mastermind in Kemba Walker who can create as well as score on his own. Kemba is a quiet man. Since he's entered the NBA, I don't think I've heard him speak on a big issue.
You're right.
Right?
That's
he
true.
fits
Very true.
the system of the San Antonio Spurs.
Who are they giving up?
You'd probably give up DeJounte Murray and a pick. And then you'd have to take on Marvin Williams or Nick Batum's contract, which they've taken on shitty contracts before, and I think that excuse my language, I apologize. This is a family-friendly podcast. If you had any young kids in the room, I apologize. But they've taken on terrible contracts before, and I would say that
Kemba is, I think it works.
You're looking at a bottom half offensive team, bringing on an offensive-minded point guard, bringing on a proven veteran on a great deal. You're bringing on a nice role player who can put up some points in Marvin Williams, and you don't have to give up a lot to get him.
Exactly. I never thought about that San Antonio deal, but that definitely works. I think if I'm Philadelphia, I go hard for Kemba Walker. All right. I don't care if you have to give up Markelle Fultz because nobody even knows what Markelle Fultz is going to be. I take Kemba now. Even if Markelle Fultz would happen to turn into some star, I take Kemba now than the chance of Markelle Fultz. So imagine Kemba Walker, Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, Robert Covington, and JJ Redick going into the playoffs as the 8th seed against the Boston Celtics. Are you telling me that series doesn't go 6 or 7?
They wouldn't be the 8th seed if they got Kemba.
Probably not. They probably wouldn't be the 8th seed. But does he not fit really well with Philadelphia?
He fits well with Philadelphia, but if you put him on that team,
in my opinion, you're basically saying that Fultz is a wash. You stick with your young guys.
I disagree because
nobody knows Hunter.
Nobody knows what it's like when the Cavs drafted Andrew Wiggins, they traded him for Kevin Love. All right, Kevin Love's probably going to be the better pro now, but Andrew Wiggins turned out he was supposed to be the superstar, turned into you said the most overrated player in the NBA.
Well, I think you should eat those words. By the way, Wiggins has been playing recently.
He's still bad.
But
he's still overrated.
Still overrated.
Still probably maybe the most overrated player in the NBA. You see how that worked out for Cleveland. They have a championship now. All right.
But that was a different situation. That was because LeBron was coming back. That was because they wanted to win now. That was because LeBron said, I'm not playing with some 18-year-old who hasn't played a lick of basketball in the NBA yet.
You don't think, the 76ers, I believe, have the Lakers pick this season as well.
No.
They don't. I thought they did.
Well, they traded it for Markelle Fultz. What happened was
the Celtics have
The Celtics have it if it's 2 through 5,
which is looking pretty good.
Looking pretty good right now.
Which would be crazy.
And if they don't get it,
absolutely insane.
And if they don't get it now, then the Sixers get it 1, or if it's 6 through 30, and then if that pick doesn't convey, then they get Sacramento's first round pick if it's 2 through, or if it's unprotected unless it's number 1, then the Sixers get it.
Don't worry though, because if the Celtics do get one of those
picks, it's gonna land in the Celtics' pockets.
Danny's just gonna pick some guy from UC Santa Barbara.
Wait, interesting question. Another guy I have on my paper. So the Pelicans said they will not trade Anthony Davis from the Pelicans, but let's just say Boston gets that pick. Okay, they get LA's pick. Mm-hmm. Do you think what other picks does Boston have?
So they have theirs, I think it might just be those two this year. But if the Lakers drop like 1 and then 6 through 30, that pick goes to the King. It's the Kings pick next year.
Imagine if Boston gets this. All right, they get the LA
see where
pick.
you're
They have
going.
a top 5 pick. Do you think then the Pelicans maybe give up Anthony Davis? Because that gives the Pelicans a chance to maybe get, say, Luka Doncic.
Mm-hmm.
All right, they need a wing terribly. Their wings are like the worst in the league.
Mm-hmm. No, I get that. I have a weird feeling, and I had this. I was just talking about this with my fellow Sixers fan, who's a friend of mine, and he said that he had a weird feeling as well about Boogie Cousins getting traded. That they
Feel that he's going to leave this offseason, and they feel that
they won't be able to retain him. So if you give him as an expiring contract, they can move on and kind of just keep going with Anthony Davis and just kind of doing their own thing. And I think that would be interesting. If you put Kemba Walker on that team, you're looking at Kemba Walker, Drew Holiday. Now that's a lot more. That's better. That's better than Rondo at your starting point guard.
I don't know. What about playoff Rondo?
playoff
Rondo is a different beast.
Playoff Rondo's weird.
Playoff Rondo is an enigma. The inner workings of his mind are an enigma. And I don't understand, but if they can get there, then they can get there, and everything will be okay.
And I think that
kind of shifts us over into our...
I was going to say, before you shifted, to answer your question about the Celtics, if the Lakers fall between 2 for 5, they'll have 4 picks next year, including their own. They'll have 2 first-rounders and 2 second-rounders. But next year, if it drops between 1 and 6 or whatever, the Lakers or the Celtics could have, if including their own, 6 draft picks next year.
6.
2019. Yeah.
Well, that's certainly interesting. But what I want to shift to, there have also been some trade rumors involving the Cleveland Cavaliers with DeAndre Jordan, George Hill, and Lou Williams. So I want to know, out of those 3 guys, which one would you go after if you're Cleveland?
DeAndre Jordan, definitely.
DeAndre Jordan.
You need all the defensive help in the world that you can get. I don't care. They're going to have to give up a Brooklyn pick and probably Tristan Thompson and possibly another piece. But it doesn't matter. You need defense. DeAndre Jordan's arguably the best defensive center in the entire league. Between him, Rudy Gobert, Draymond Green, even though he's only like 6'8", has a spot up there as well.
Right.
But you absolutely have to go after I think you need to trade for him now, right now. I don't care. Just let LeBron do his thing, get DeAndre Jordan, and go from there.
You know, that my instinct also tells me that you need to get as LeBron said, a quote unquote game changer if they're going to trade the pick.
And in my opinion, DeAndre Jordan would do that.
But here's an interesting thing that I've been also working out, right? George Hill, to me, is the best option, in my opinion. I think that you can nab George Hill, Willie Cauley-Stein, and maybe another piece, but like some nobody or like a terrible contract that they have on their team. I know they have a lot. You can maybe get like Zach Randolph or something, like because they're making weird money over in Sacramento. You can give him back Tristan Thompson, probably Zizic, and I don't know, somebody else. Brooklyn, and you give him the Brooklyn pick, right? Now you're looking at George Hill, a guy who can come in off the bench, a guy who can shoot the lights out, a guy who can facilitate, a guy who's making decent money, but on a really great deal when you really think about it. I think he's making close to like just $10 million per season.
Around there, yeah.
That's really that's impressive to me. That George Hill is only making $10 million a year. So now you have the cap space freed up. If you lose to the Warriors in like 5 or 6 games, you now have the cap space this offseason to bring in somebody else. You now have that option to bring in not necessarily another max player, but maybe somebody else. You can now have flexibility within your contracts because you got rid of Tristan Thompson.
You're going to get rid of
maybe J.R. Smith or something like that.
I think they need to get rid of J.R. Smith.
And so now you chopped your Brooklyn pick. Willie Cauley-Stein is one of the most up-and-coming players in the league. He's a defensive rebounder. He's a good rim protector. He's somebody who you maybe could start right away at the 5.
Probably at this
I
point.
mean, at
They're
this
not going
point,
to have anybody else
at this
to go
point,
at the 5.
you know, and to have him on a LeBron team and kind of get that culture in, he also will go up in value as he progresses. So now, if LeBron leaves in this offseason, you have a young piece in Willie Cauley-Stein. You have a good contract in George Hill. You now have the flexibility to do whatever you want with your roster, whether or not LeBron James leaves.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. I never thought about Willie Cauley-Stein coming over.
So if you take, and it would take a lot, but you know, Sacramento's really stupid. Sacramento's made some garbage trades in the past couple years. They've made some garbage front office moves. So if David Griffin is really serious and wants to become a top tier GM in my eyes, you go after George Hill and Willie Cauley-Stein.
David Griffin's not the GM anymore.
Or it's not David Griffin. I'm
Yeah,
sorry. I apologize.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got fired. Right. I apologize. I don't even know who their GM is now.
No, I don't. I've heard a lot of talk about like Kevin Love, but a lot of the problems that other people are seeing is like he's expired. Like no one's gonna want him.
I was surprised. I really thought he was actually going to go to Indiana last season.
Oh yeah.
I really
Oh,
thought,
and like a Paul George.
I
deal.
really thought that was going to happen.
You could go after Paul George too. Like the possibilities for this are
I
endless.
don't think OKC's giving up Paul George now.
Oh, I'm not saying for a
No.
trade. I think they're gonna keep
in
Paul
the-
George
in the offseason.
like in the
Yeah,
offseason
definitely.
because Paul George is gone.
He's going to LA.
I don't know.
Unless they-
I don't know.
Unless-
There's so much turmoil in it. I don't know anybody other than possibly Paul George that wants to go to LA.
Listen,
right now.
unless OKC like makes the okay, if they make the second round, I could possibly see it. But anything about like before that, I think he goes to LA. And I think LeBron might join him.
The Cavaliers GM name is Kobe Altman. So Kobe, if you're listening to this right now, don't know why you would be, but another thing about Willie Cauley-Stein. First of all, I don't know why I'm on this Willie Cauley-Stein kick, but I am for whatever reason. He's a discount DeAndre Jordan, but he's a good fit to put next to Kevin Love. The amount of rebounds that you would get, now granted you would have the same with DeAndre Jordan, but you wouldn't have to give up as much for DeAndre Jordan. And you could get the rebounding, the interior defense. You could get that rim protection that you need.
I think no matter what, they should trade Tristan Thompson.
Oh, Tristan Thompson has to go. If
no matter who they're trading for, they can be trading for Aaron Aflalo. I think they still want
Plus,
to give up.
I believe the Kings do not have their pick this year. I believe
the Kings do have their pick
They do
this
have their
year.
pick. So
They
it
do
would
not
make
have
sense.
it next year.
it would make sense for your trade because if they say they give away Willie Cauley-Stein, one of the younger pieces, it's looking like they have a shot at the number 1 pick. They get a second pick that has a shot at the number 1 pick.
You could get another top 10 pick. So now you're
could
bringing
get-
in 2 top 10
There's
talents
a
in a
lot-
very top-heavy
There's
draft.
DeAndre Ayton that they could possibly get. There's Marvin Bagley who has been compared to Kevin Garnett.
I'm not saying that like
It
it
could-
won't
that's
happen.
interesting.
I'm saying that that's it.
Ayton's
I'm saying that
insane.
to me gives you the better option because you're locked into DeAndre Jordan for like what the next like 2 seasons, something like that, and he's making like $30 million. You're going all in on LeBron James staying with you, or you can play both ways. And I think, in my opinion, that's what the Cavaliers should do. You got to play it both ways because LeBron will never tell you if he's leaving or if he's staying.
He'll let you know like the morning of.
Yeah, he'll be like, the
Speaking-
paper will tell you in the morning.
Yeah, you'll get the Twitter notification that
Yeah.
it's gone. Then you
It's
get a
funny
call
that
an hour later
hold
from
on,
him.
Hold on, it's funny that you just said that because there are reports that Jason Kidd did not know about his firing until the Woj tweet.
Until the
came out.
Woj tweet. Oh my god. That's why it's ugly. That's another reason why
Yeah.
it's super, super ugly because, oh my goodness. The way the NBA
Twitter
works
is
sometimes.
blowing up.
Oh,
People
man.
are like, it's like Woj just tweeted that to see if the team would go along with it. And people are like, man,
The Bucks see Woj's tweet and actually
And
fired
actually,
him.
they're like-
there's a gif of
They
like
said-
when Jason Kidd opens his Twitter and finds out he's been fired. Another one's like Eric Bledsoe has now got 2 coaches fired this season. Shaking my
or
head.
Watson and Jason in short amount of time still.
Yeah.
Short amount of times.
Um,
Oh my goodness. All right. So, the last thing that we want to shift to today, the All-Star game has just, it's just right around the corner. It's like about a month away. But the All-Star rosters and the All-Star voting
the starters have just come out. LeBron James and Stephen Curry have kind of picked
The East and the West. They kind of kept them the same, didn't they? If I remember correctly.
I'm pretty sure
No,
all
there hasn't been a picks yet.
No. Yeah, well, right. So the starters, I know Embiid made it, and now he's moving on from Gianna. I believe
Damian Lillard was
Yeah,
snubbed
that's
once again.
That's a big deal. Joel Embiid's not going after. He's moving on
he's
from
moving
Rihanna.
on. He's moving on. It's
Big, and we cover the hardest news.
You know,
here.
he's going after someone
Triple
better.
podcast.
That's what he's doing.
yeah.
Props to Joelle.
Oh, good.
She didn't want
She
him
didn't
in
want
the
him
first
then.
place, and she can't get him now. Remember Rex Ryan a couple years ago, his post game conference. I forget how it went, but he compared a team to like losing your girlfriend.
Oh yeah, it's like
You're getting dumped by the
And
pretty girl at
he's
the
like,
bar
she
or
didn't want
something
you
like
then.
that.
She can't get you
Did
back.
you know Rex Ryan has or had a tattoo of his wife wearing a Mark Sanchez jersey on his
Oh
arm?
man,
And that was just one of the funniest things.
Rex
I've ever
Ryan's
seen.
an interesting guy.
Uh-huh.
But anyways, we're on the Triple Double podcast. We're not talking about Rex Ryan.
Oh,
anymore.
Rex Ryan. This isn't the Triple Double podcast. This is the Triple Double podcast. So, the reserves will be revealed tomorrow at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on TNT. And they will be redrafted regardless of conference. And it will be interesting to see, certainly, I have no idea who's going to be on this All-Star list.
Just real quick, who do you think is going to be taken first? LeBron is the first pick.
LeBron is the first pick overall. The starters are interesting. I don't know who they're going to pick first of the reserves because I have no idea. Like, probably
Starters.
Maybe
Oh, I know the
Kyrie.
starters.
Yeah.
I thought they
Maybe
already picked
Kyrie.
the starters.
No.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the starters have not been picked yet. They've just been these guys have to be picked first.
Oh,
how it works.
I
You
got
think
you.
They're
LeBron
starting
picks
to-
Kyrie?
I think LeBron picks Kyrie.
I could see it.
I totally see it.
Yeah.
And then Curry's going to pick Giannis.
I think he's gonna pick KD.
Yeah.
Why? Why though?
It's his
Like, that's
teammate.
no fun.
KD's the second best player in the league.
I think he would pick Giannis.
I think
just
LeBron
to have
takes
fun.
Harden.
Or that, yeah.
I think LeBron takes
This
Harden.
is. I love this new idea.
I think it's nice. I think it's
love it.
cool. I think it's spicy.
Uh-huh.
I think it.
I think it'll be a lot of fun. I'm
wanna
excited to
see-
watch it.
I want to see Kyrie and LeBron play together
Yes, of course.
again.
Well, as always, I think that was just a nice little bit. Who do you guys got as
The winner of
of
the
the All-Star game for right now? All right, right now,
I guess
right
the-
now. Do you
we
think it's
don't-
like?
I guess we
Because
can't really
we don't
choose
know
do you think
who
it's,
Twitter
no,
yet.
I'm not saying just based upon the
Like
captains. Do you
MVP?
think a LeBron you think a LeBron pick team or a Stephen Curry pick
Probably
team?
Steph.
Who would
I
you
think
rather have?
Steph because
Wait,
it's just
I've
like
seen,
it's
I've
gonna
seen
be
how
a
LeBron's
scoring
built a
fest.
team the last couple
Uh-huh.
years.
This is his recruiting video to be GM once he retires.
All right. As always, this has been the Triple Double Podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment if you're new. We love it whenever we find somebody telling us how great they think our podcast is. Be sure to subscribe. Be sure to follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Instagram to be the best Triple Double Podcast we could be. Be sure to tell your friends, tell your parents, tell your dog, tell your neighbor's dog, and make sure that you're having the best day possible. Okay.
As always, this has been the Triple Double Podcast. I'm Eddie Fitzgerald.
Cam McKee.
I'm Hunter Nicely, but we got one last quick update on Marcin Gortat on Cam's hottest take of all time.
Defensive
for winning
Player of the
Defensive Player
Year.
of the Year.
Drum roll, please.
And we got some bad news. His defensive box plus minus has actually dropped just a tad from 2.4. He's down to a 2.1, which is still good.
Listen, it's
Still
a
good.
January slump.
It's a
okay?
January slump. January
Everyone
slump.
has
Oh,
That
my
Washington
goodness.
Wizards slump right there.
Oh,
Only one trying out there every game.
oh my goodness. This has been the Triple Double Podcast. Have a great day, everybody.